I now recognize the ranking member, Mr. Raskin, for 4 minutes for closing remarks.
Thank you kindly, Mr. Chairman. I also want to just clean up a little bit of the debris, the flotsam and jetsam left over from this hearing, which you have presided over in admirable fashion, Mr. Chairman. So thank you for that. The first thing is Mr. Griffith, who I'm afraid is not with us now, made the bizarre point that he thinks that we all agree that there was no Russian interference in our election in 2016. I think anybody who is paying attention, who's studied the historical record, determines the issue in exactly the opposite fashion. More than a dozen different national security agencies, including the CIA, the FBI, the NSA, the Director of National Intelligence, the Department of Justice, the Department of Homeland Security, the House Intelligence Committee, the Senate Intelligence Committee, all determined that Vladimir Putin had a plan. He had a whole operation in place, the Internet Research Agency, which they put hundreds of millions of dollars in precisely to interfere in the American presidential election and destabilize it. Now, there's obviously dispute about to what extent Donald Trump coordinated with them. Some people think Donald Trump had nothing to do with it, and when he said, Russia, if you're listening, find me those 30,000 email, or when they met with Russian operatives at Trump Tower, that all of that was just accidental or whatever. But in any event, put that to the side. Nobody serious is doubting that there was a Russian campaign to interfere in an election in 2016, so I was alarmed that he was engaged in that degree of Orwellian whitewashing of our actual history. Here's Marco Rubio, the Republican senator from Florida, who's then the acting chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee, who said, we found irrefutable evidence of Russian meddling in the 2016 election. So I wanted to clear that up because these things have a way of changing people's minds for no reason. Secondly, on the matter of non-citizen voting, which has become kind of a big deal in this hearing, I would just encourage everybody to study the history of it. I have no dog in the hunt. This is up to the people of D.C. whether they want non-citizens to join the overwhelmingly citizen population of D.C. in voting in school board and ANC and city council elections. That's up to them, just like it's up to the people of Little Rock or Juneau, Alaska, or Dallas, Texas. So I've got no horse in that race. But I will tell you that some people in this hearing were vehemently denouncing the practice as un-American, unconstitutional, and so on, without understanding remotely the history of this practice, which was pervasive throughout the 18th and 19th centuries, precisely because the states wanted to welcome immigrants to their population and give them the right to vote as a way to get them interested in local affairs. And I think Mr. Cuccinelli properly quoted me when someone said, well, what about Russian agents at the Russian embassy? And I said, if I had a vote in D.C., which I don't, I would certainly vote to exclude them from participating because it's been proven that they are up to no good and are trying to subvert our democracy. But it's up to the people of D.C. how they want to deal with the issue of their local elections. Finally, about the matter at hand, the people of Washington, D.C. are the residents of the only national capital on planet Earth who are not represented in their own national legislature. These are tax-paying, draftable, law-abiding U.S. citizens, 700,000 of them, a population larger than that of 2 states, and yet they are completely excluded from voting representation in the Congress that makes decisions central to their lives about judicial nominations, about war and peace, about federal budget, and so on. That's the critical voting rights issue. Everything else is a sideshow and a distraction from that. Let's get back to what we were doing in the last Congress. Let's pass D.C. statehood, and let's keep the march of democracy and freedom going in America. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.